Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is July the 31st, 2026. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Hopefully, this episode finds you in a good place, in a good space. Things feel very Friday for you. As for me, as for mine, it's been a pretty good day. I took the day off. Had some medical stuff I had to attend to. So the way the day went, I woke up way too early. I think I only got like 4 hours of sleep to start. So I was just kind of hanging out. I was thinking, okay, I'm up with my usual alarm. I call off for work. And I was like, you know what? Let me just go to the gym now at the top of the day. I was like trying to lay down and I wasn't able to go back to sleep. So I was like, let's just get up, let's just go to the gym, and then we'll see where we're at. So I get up, go, and overall, gym session was solid. It was good. Post the gym, I come home, I hang out for like a little bit more, and I say, all right, I'm going to take a nap before I have to go to the hospital. So I do that, get a little bit more sleep, actually a pretty good nap, and then get up, get myself together, and I head out to the hospital, do my medical thing. Post that, I was feeling like I deserved a treat. It's been a long week, so I've been craving. I've had a pizza craving. It's very specific. I was like, I want a Detroit style pizza from Jets. I just want one. I haven't had one in a very long time, and I have a hankering for it. So I drive from the hospital to a Jets, which actually wasn't very far away. I was very lucky. And I proceed to, get my order set up. And I was initially wanting like a really weird pizza. Like I've never had anchovies before. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get anchovy pizza. Why not? I'm going to mark it off my bucket list. And I go up and I put in my order, and the guy stops me. He goes, "Hey, just so you know, we only sell that in a small or a large." And I was really thrown off by that, but I'll come back to this moment in a second. So I go, oh, so that threw me off. So I was like, wait, never mind then, because I wanted a medium pizza. So I was like, well, never mind, we won't do that. I'll just get this pizza. So I took the anchovies off, and I got like a pizza with sausage, pineapple, and banana peppers. And then I got some cheese bread with jalapeno and bacon and some pizza sauce. So I was like, all right, good order. Sounds good. And I go across the way to a gas station. And I know I said in the previous episode, okay, I'm off the beer and I'm off the caffeine. I'm off the coffee. Look, I said I wanted a treat, and I proceeded to get a treat. So I got that and some water. I got a beer and a water, and came back, and my order was ready. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna smash this right outside. So I'm sitting out on the sidewalk, and I crack everything open, and I see, wait, this isn't the Detroit style pizza I wanted. Womp 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 womp. I was very sad. I was very bummed. So I was like, let me go up and talk to them. Let me talk to these guys. So I go back into the Jets and I say, hey guys, I wanted a Detroit style pizza. Like, that's what I wanted. And luckily, it was another guy, and he goes, oh, that's our bad. Actually, you can just keep that pizza. We'll make you a new one. And I go, okay, sweet. Thanks. And then and he asked me, like, what I had on it, da 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 da. And I said I wanted a medium, Detroit style pizza. That's what I wanted. That's what I ordered. And he goes, oh, hey, wait, just so you know, we only sell that in a small or a large. And then it clicked for me, the previous conversation, where what he had meant or had said wasn't specific to the anchovies. I was too keyed in on that from my end. He was talking about the fact that I had ordered it Detroit style. They only came in a small or a large. And my dumbass should have clocked that, but I was only half paying attention, and I was just on pizza mode. So, that's my bad. And so I felt bad. I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's all good. It's fine. We'll make it for you again. So, shout out to Jets. Shout out to the good ass employees there. So I have two pizzas. So I have one on deck with the cheese bread, and now I'm waiting for another one. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna save my little appetite. I'm gonna have one slice of this pizza, and then I'll wait for the pizza I initially ordered, to come out. So there I was eating all this pizza, all this cheese bread, and a little beer on the side. I'm sweating in the hot heat. This shit was so good. I'm burning my mouth. I'm biting my tongue. So that was a good seal of approval there. If you're wondering how it was, so it's very good, very yummy. And I pretty much took the whole pizza and the remainder of the cheese bread home. Um, and then coming back from a nap, because I came home, hung out for a little bit, took a nap, because I was like, I compiled an episode and I was like, no, I'm definitely sleepy again. So woke up from a nap, and then I actually, for the first time in a very, very long time, reheated some pizza leftovers, and it was actually good. I feel like I've adopted the oven technique or the air fryer technique, and it's definitely a lot better for the pizza. When I was younger, I used to do microwave, and that shit never came out the way I wanted, and it definitely made me resentful of most leftovers. But that being said, I will say this: Zoe got this new microwave, and like, it's pretty good. Like, she cooked a baked potato in there, or a potato in there, and I was like, this actually, I couldn't tell you that this was from a microwave. So I mean, maybe technology is advancing. Maybe people just have the better wrist, the better timing than on the microwave than I ever had. I don't know. But needless to say, Jess was good twice. Love that for me. And and let's see, I ran a quick little errand, and then while I was out, I had something of a sweet tooth, and I wanted a tasty bev. So I went to McDonald's, got in a drive-through line, and just got a $2 Coke. Man, I miss when those things were $1. But yeah, it hit the spot. It was yummy, and now I'm home. We are as researched as I'm gonna be for this episode. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into the news. All right. Our first story is coming from Time, like the magazine. Why thousands of Moroccan migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave Ceuta. Let's see here. A Spanish territory in northern Africa was experiencing a humanitarian crisis on Friday after thousands of migrants swam across the border from Morocco, with at least 57 dying in the chaos. Ceuta has been considered a gateway for migrants seeking better lives in Europe, and the city has progressively fortified its borders in response to perennial illegal border crossings. Yet, Spain's Interior Ministry on Friday said close to 50,000 migrants had rushed into Ceuta since Thursday morning. In an update later shared in the day, the ministry said more than 48,300 migrants had already returned to Morocco. The Moroccan ambassador to Spain, Karima Biniach, said at an embassy event that the situation in Ceuta was not wanted by the Kingdom of Morocco, adding that it would prefer legal, orderly, and safe immigration for everyone. Centers that receive migrants have been overwhelmed after the surge, while parks and streets were crowded with people from across the border. Footage and images showed scores of people, many of whom appeared to be young men, bypassing the Tarajal border fence between Morocco and the Spanish exclave of Ceuta. Let's see here. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here. The city of Ceuta is a peninsular region covering 19.9 square kilometers on Africa's southern or northern coast. It is one of two Spanish exclaves on the continent, along with Melilla, which is about 220 kilometers southeast. The two Spanish autonomous cities represent the European Union's only land borders with Africa. Spain has possessed Ceuta, which is separated from mainland Spain by the Strait of Gibraltar since 1580. Let's see here. I'm skipping ahead a bit. Now, I really just wanted to get to what people are thinking is the big reason why there's been such an influx in migration, because things have been trending down for a while, at least for the first 6 months of like 2025. So things were looking like, okay, maybe things are, going to stay that way. But then there was a ruling that people are kind of pointing to that maybe suggests why people are thinking like, well, if there's a time to try, you should try now. Um, a June 29th ruling by the Spanish Supreme Court stopped authorities from summarily returning migrants who arrive in Ceuta and Melilla by sea, at least not without due process. While it did not legalize irregular entry or guarantee that those swimmers could remain in Spain, Spanish broadcaster RTVE reported on Thursday that the ruling spread on Moroccan social media, reportedly prompting people to try to enter Spain by swimming to Ceuta. Um, so yeah, naturally, people have been, taking this and, running with it in all kinds of evil political ways, kind of, stoking the culture war per se. Trump sounded off, calling it an invasion, saying that like, hey, if you don't vote Republican for the midterms, this is gonna happen in America. Like, but even worse. It's like, brother, okay, all right. You have a lot of neighboring European countries like Europe or like Italy, saying like, hey, we're gonna do something about this. We're gonna cut off other, easy transport. I think within like the thing called the Schengen. Essentially, it's like um, traveling area where you don't have to have a passport, I believe, or something to that effect. I might be getting that wrong. I'm kind of quickly summarizing this. But essentially, they're saying, no, we're going to turn that off until the situation improves, which is like, that's not necessary. That's not going to change or affect this in any kind of way. There's also a lot of talk again, which is always a common trope of saying, hey, well, we need to stop this human trafficking. We need to stop it. We need to like get down and do some enforcing, which is like, okay, that is a noble thing to say, but essentially you are using that banner to say, we are going to clamp down on migration. We're going to be doing evil shit to people who are going to try to cross our border. Because yes, human trafficking is very bad. Like especially when you're going through some of these situations where how people migrants are being transported, it's not good. There should be better ways to go about this. But sadly, the legal ways are not really available. They're not really helpful for people. So people wind up taking these options. I'm not really trying to get into systematic bullshit here, but it's just one of those things where I hate when I hear this common refrain of like, yes, we need to stop these human traffickers. That they're doing is so evil. Da 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 da. It's like, yeah, but from the other perspective, it's like these are the people who are ferrying others, and not to mention, in this situation directly, you literally have people who are trying to risk it all and swim. I was listening to one story where a guy was like, yeah, I heard about this opportunity. I went to take it and I saw that the waters were just getting rougher and rougher. I couldn't make it. And like what really made me stop was thinking about my children. I just knew that like if I die, who's taking care of them? And that's a fairly sad story, but that is what is on the line for these people. It's not nothing. It's not like they're just, come in to just have, like kick back in a new area or have a big long vacation or, live off the dole of another place. Like they are in a hard situation. They are doing everything they can to survive. And if this is now what it's boiled down to for them, they're like, yeah, I don't have a choice. I'm going to take it. So, it sucks that these moments get boiled down to like, well, how do we rally the people against these other people, essentially? How do we stoke people's fears and insecurities and worries and stuff like that, so, as opposed to helping people who really do need it? We're getting like focused and caught up on borders and shit. I don't know. I always hate that. Anyway, we're going to move on though. Let's see here. Got a little cyber hack story, also related to the Iran war. So it's like, whoa. From CBS News. Well, I should say potentially. U.S. probing if Iran was behind cyber attack on water systems in 7 states. Ooh, excuse me. Malicious cyber activity affected technology at water systems in at least 7 states this week, including Minnesota, forcing some utilities to switch to manual operations as state and federal authorities dig into who is behind the attack, CBS News has learned. Investigators are probing to determine whether the activity is the work of Iranian hackers, according to U.S. officials and sources familiar with the incident. Sources cautioned that since they had not definitively attributed the attack, their assessment could change as additional technical evidence is collected. They are also probing whether the actor could have attempted to appear Iran-based as a way of stirring the pot amid the ongoing U.S. conflict with Iran. The FBI reported incidents in at least 7 states, but didn't identify them, which is weird. I feel like why do the half measure of just saying like 7 states were affected. We're not telling you which. Let's see, but maybe more details will come out. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. CBS News has learned more than 30 community water systems across Minnesota were affected. Minnesota and the federal government have not publicly attributed the activity to a particular actor. Even as the investigation continues, President Trump said Friday that he doesn't think Iran is to blame. Instead, he pointed the finger at Minnesota and its Democratic Governor Tim Walz, who is no stranger to criticism from the president. I think that Minnesota is behind it, Mr. Trump said during a televised cabinet meeting at Camp David. You know who's behind it? Minnesota, because they're grossly incompetent. I think the governor's behind it. I don't think that there was an Iranian cyber attack. I think that Minnesota ought to get its act together. They like to say, oh, it was Iran. Iran should be so lucky. Iran's got bigger problems than worrying about Minnesota, the president said. Like, brother, and so do you. Also, it's weird to be like, hey, I think Minnesota dropped the ball. I think they flopped so hard. I think their governor's so dumb that they let themselves get hacked and then what, hacked 6 other states? Like, brother, make this fucking theory makes sense, man. He's just like grasping at thin air because he just hates this old guy. Like, it's brother is so petty. It just lets him go off on the wildest tangents. But I mean, hey, it's at least fun to hear sometimes. Sometimes. I would not argue that this is one of them. But it's like, okay, all right, an interesting take. Let's see. Following Mr. Trump's accusations, Wall said on social media that the Trump administration took an axe to the Federal Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, I believe that's CISA, and left the U.S. exposed to cyber attack. Trump knows exactly who is responsible for this attack and knows that other states were hit too, Wall says. This is what modern warfare looks like, and it further illustrates that there's no plan to win the war with Iran. Iran-linked hackers had previously targeted U.S. water facilities. Federal agencies confirmed previously that actors affiliated with the Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps used a similar playbook assessing multiple water and wastewater facilities in 2023 by exploiting internet-connected controllers that retained their default passwords. Like, this is not outside the realm of thinking. We've heard of Iran doing this. We've heard of North Korea doing this in some way, shape, or form. At least in terms of like the cyber hacking or whatever. It is not a crazy notion if you have even just a small amount of resources in the tech field or whatever, and you focus it. You do this shit over time. Eventually, you can develop and have enough of a crew to say, hey, we can just hit these places. At the end of the day, we just kind of find the little gateways, the little unlocked, methods to kind of breach. And the next thing you know, we're in one way or another. Sometimes all it takes is a bad phishing email. Or in this situation, a default password. They just didn't change the 123 or the admin. And then click, we're in. Now we can turn on and off the water. Which is crazy to think that sometimes it is that easy, but it really is. So, not to say that, oh yeah, we should be, 100% certain that this is Iran. I definitely want to wait to, get more evidence and, hear, more details. But to also jump on it from the way, our president is coming from it to say, oh, once again, Tim Walz flopped so hard that he is allowing Minnesota to stage a fucking hack from within. Like, that's a stretch in and of itself, brother. But anyway, we're moving from Trump, and we're going to talk a little soccer. We've had a little FIFA dust up post World Cup that I don't necessarily feel like I wanted to talk about, but it's gotten big enough where I'm like, all right, we'll do a little extra yapping on this. So yeah, this is actually from ESPN. UEFA vows World Cup boycott as CONCACAF. I'm just that's an interesting I don't know, acronym. There you go. AFC reject FIFA private equity plan. All right. European nations agreed to boycott all FIFA competitions, including the World Cup, after an emergency meeting Thursday resolved to unequivocally reject FIFA President Gianni Infantino's plan to sell stakes in the World Cup to a private equity group. Infantino's proposal was later dealt another major blow when North America's soccer body uh, CONCACAF, and the Asian Football Confederation, or the AFC, joined European counterpart UEFA in rejecting the plan. The decision of UEFA's 55 members means that major nations, including Germany, France, England, and world champion Spain, would not participate in the men's or women's World Cups as long as FIFA's proposal remains active. UEFA and its national associations will not participate in FIFA competitions, UEFA said in a statement. Following its own meeting later in the day, the 41-member Confederation of North Central American and Caribbean Association of Football said it had also rejected the proposal. CONCACAF, which I'm sure I'm keep fucking that up, but whatever. CONCACAF members include 2026 World Cup hosts the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The U.S. Soccer Federation wrote on social media that it stands with CONCACAF, or whatever, and its members. A damning statement from AFC then called for an urgent review of FIFA's governance, saying it stood in solidarity with UEFA and CONCACAF and that fundamental weaknesses in FIFA's consultation and decision-making processes that must now be addressed. Let me just talk about the plan. We'll go to this highlighted portion here. Infantino revealed plans earlier this week for a sale of a stake in FIFA Forward Enterprises, or FFE, that would raise $20 billion in exchange for influence over future World Cups, including broadcasting and commercial deals linked to the tournament. Now, I believe at this point, in its entirety, that FIFA has been a nonprofit. And then, any of the money that they make goes back into the clubs or whatever, yada, yada. But this was supposedly an idea where it's like, hey, well, now we can kind of become for profit. Everyone stands to make a little bit more money. And this is all going to be a good thing. It's good for the goose, good for the gander. At least this is how Infantino pitched it. But really, a lot of the big clubs are like, okay, so we get a small kickback. And really, in the scheme of things, yes, it's millions of dollars for all these clubs involved, but like it's a small kickback. We all would stand to make more money, and we'd all be better off because we really wouldn't be getting in, having outside influence if we just didn't take this money and we kept things the way they were. But for a guy like Infantino, this is great because we're going to get into who's involved in this. You're only ingratiating yourself more with the Trump family, and it's money coming into your pocket. And sure, we're telling you, hey, this is going to be money that's going to get spread across all the clubs that are involved, but you don't know that. That's just something that's being told to you. We are talking about oh, this would be so corrupt. I said this before. I feel like other people will say this as well. I'm kind of just echoing into the fucking choir here or whatever. FIFA's been corrupt. And we could go down the line. I mean, what isn't corrupt these days? But at the end of the day, being so faced up with it, saying, hey, we are literally going to be bought out and you're going to be able to see and feel that influence and be able to easily trace it. You would think oh, okay, what's so bad about that? But it's no, it's just, it is worse. It actually a degrading of the game. So you don't want to see this. You don't want to root for this. You don't want to advocate for it. And generally, I'm happy to see that very quickly, all of these, clubs, organizations have come together and said, yeah, this fucking stinks. We don't want to be a part of it. No way. We're going to actually take the nuclear option and boycott if FIFA goes all the way with this. But let's see. The effort is being bankrolled by Joshua Kushner, the brother of Jared Kushner, U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law. So there you go. You see where this goes all the way to the fucking top. Once again, another instance where you're seeing the Trump family make some money. And sure, this isn't necessarily going into Trump's pocket, but one way or another, Trump is benefiting off of this. The president of the United States is benefiting off of this. And we're just supposed to be okay with it. We're just supposed to be all right, that's good. That's good practice. Okay. So yeah, that's why the story was big enough for me. Y'all know I usually don't talk sports, especially when, sports not even fucking in season. But yeah, I mean, this is still going to be a thing that's coming up soon. I believe the Women's World Cup, and I think they're having a youth one as well. So yeah, I mean, good that, these clubs, organizations, whatever, are quickly coming through and saying, hey, this fucking stinks and we don't want to be a part of it. So I really hope that this doesn't go forward. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. We have one more story that I wanted to cover for tonight. We gotta talk about a little bit of a oopsie daisy from Netflix. But yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close it out there. Mm. I'll tell you what, it has been a hot day, hot day. Mm. While I was outside eating my yummy pizza, I was getting like so hot and sweaty that like my eyes were like getting sweat shut. I didn't want to wipe them because I was like, pizza sauce and all that grease on my hands. So I like stumble like like a fucking zombie back to my car, and I have like just an emergency kind of towel or whatever, and I'm just like kind of just wiping the sweat off gingerly, just to kind of like get back to my pizza. That was the situation that I was in on a Friday afternoon. Anyway, from CBS News, Netflix sued for allegedly losing unreleased Nicolas Cage movie. A UK based production company and a filmmaker are suing Netflix for $105 million, alleging that the streaming company lost a drive containing a copy of an unreleased espionage movie, which they claim undermined its commercial prospects. The complaint filed on Wednesday in California District Court alleges that the film's associate producer, Daniel Haido, hand delivered an unencrypted master copy of the film to Netflix so the company could screen it as a potential buyer. Haido verbally instructed the employee to delete the files after the screening, according to the suit. A little over a week after the screening, Netflix emailed the filmmakers to say the drive had been stolen. The plaintiffs alleged. Someone stole a good amount of drives from our office desk this past week. A Netflix executive wrote in the June 25th email, according to the suit. The complaint notes the movie, titled Fortitude, took over 7 years to make and cost $45 billion. It tells the story of a secret mission called Operation Fortitude during World War II that was orchestrated to mislead the Nazis about the Allied invasion of Europe. The film stars Nicolas Cage as Dusko Popov, a real-life spy during World War II, as well as Sir Ben Kingsley and Ron Perlman. The plaintiff said studios will now be dissuaded from buying the rights to the movie, knowing that a version of it could be released by a third party for free. Marketing the film will also be more difficult, which could undermine negotiations with potential buyers, they allege. The film's value depended in significant part on its exclusivity as an unreleased first to market work, the complaint states. By losing control of the film, Netflix destroyed that exclusivity and materially, if not completely, impaired the film's marketability. It is not fathomable that a sophisticated buyer would invest tens of millions of dollars to acquire the film and tens of millions to market it, while facing the constant risk that it could appear online to be viewed widely for free at any time, the lawsuit goes on to say. For the plaintiffs, the plaintiffs said they now temporarily pause marketing and sales of Fortitude. A Netflix spokesperson, a Netflix spokesperson said the company disputes any claim that it bears the risk of loss for a film delivered without the proper industry standard safeguards. Netflix has offered to monitor piracy sites for unauthorized distribution of or sale of the movie. While we do not own the rights to Fortitude, we take content security seriously and have taken extra measures to support the filmmaker and his team, the spokesperson said in a statement to CBS News. So yeah, I saw this today while I was just kind of like scrolling around on the news ticker, and I was like, my first thought was like, oh, that's unfortunate. But also, my second thought was like, God damn, not another World War II movie. But that being said, hey, who knows? Maybe it was a banger. Maybe it is a banger. And, we should be chomping at the bit ready to see this kind of movie. And it's a shame that it's on the shelves right now. But yeah, this does seem like a foible mostly on Netflix. I definitely do feel like the onus is on Netflix. But then when you remind yourself this is 2026 and that you can do all of these things to protect your information, your data, your movie, your whatever, insert thing here. Like, yeah, you could have encrypted it. Like, why did you just like physically hand this over to a person or whatever and say, hey, make sure you delete this after? Like, when you didn't have to do that, like, couldn't you have gone through safer channels? I'm sure it's easier maybe to do it the way he did, but like, if you actually care about preserving, the quote unquote integrity of your movie, you go through the proper channels, you take the proper safeguards protocols, right? So maybe this does take a little bit of two here. With my speculation hat on, I get the feeling they're probably going to settle this. This is probably going to get settled for an undisclosed amount of money, and no one's going to have to say sorry or any kind of real culpability. And I'm sure eventually this movie is going to come out. And hopefully you don't have to pay that much money for it. Maybe it'll come out straight to the old DVD or something. I don't know. I will say though, it is always a bummer, when these things happen. I say that in the sense of like, I know, what was it? An Avatar movie was supposed to come out, like The Last Airbender, and slated for like a theatrical release, but then it got leaked. And essentially, the creators had came out and said, yeah, this is actually a big blow for us. Because this movie is out in a way that we didn't expect or want, we now aren't going to be able to release the movie in theaters. It's just not, there's no way it makes money. You already can watch it for free. People have already seen this movie that has not even come out yet for free now. And they did wind up saying, hey, hey, we're actually going to be able to release it, I think, on Paramount. So it just came straight to an app or whatever. But I know for some people that was really upsetting because they definitely would have loved going to the theaters, big old bag of popcorn, and watching some Avatar action. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer there when these things happen. But yeah, you gotta be careful with your shit, man. You gotta be mindful of your P's and Q's. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really have for today. Like I said, maybe we'll get to see Nick Cage in some World War II action someday, but it is not today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Though I will say, roll calls tomorrow, so, get in while you can, TikTok. And then let's see, speaking of TikTok, follow there, subscribe there. YouTube, all those things. I'm there. Let's see. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is always caring. Let's see. All the stars are appreciated on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you don't do any of that though, that's okay. I'm just happy that I'm yapping to somebody. I'm not just, listlessly yodeling into the void. You know what I mean? So nice there's someone on the other end of the line. But yeah. Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.